Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Anderson here, and I am excited to welcome my friend and new book author, Adam Lawrence, to talk about his new book, The Wheel of Sustainability. And welcome, Adam.
Well, thank you for having me on, Katie. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, great to have you here. And, we have a lot of things in common. We both published a book during a pandemic. We both wrote books. Yeah, here we go. Books that tell a lot of stories. And we both wrote books that have a reference to Japan. And although I didn't explicitly say anything about a ninja in my book, I love your ninja. And in fact, before we were recording this, I was sharing how I couldn't find the book because my children, who are currently 7 and 10, had stolen it because I think they thought that this was a book for them. But it is a book for leaders who want to become more effective at changing their organization and becoming just the best leaders that they can. And so I'm going to switch it over to Adam to ask him 7 questions here today for you. So Adam, what inspired you to write The Wheel of Sustainability and to write it during a pandemic?
Okay, well, great question. So we all have a story to tell, right? So I've always wanted to write a book, and 15 years ago, I started one and I realized it was going nowhere. But then I realized during the pandemic, there was time on my hands, and I knew in my mind what I wanted to write about, which was about sustainability, which is a big issue for a lot of companies and a lot of people, and it's a passion of mine.
Yeah, that's great. We so often do an improvement event and it's not sustained.
Right.
And so I really love that focus on sustainability and it being a wheel that turns. So question number 2, based on that, how did you develop the wheel of sustainability?
So I've been continuous improvement practitioner a little over 30 years. And so I love helping teams solve complicated, complex business problems, and that's fun. What I noticed early in my career was we were solving problems and they were coming back. So that bothered me a lot. So I started to think about what elements could I develop that would help these problems stay solved. So over the many years, through trial and error, mainly error, right, I came up with the various elements that turned into, it started out as a molecule. So Adam's molecule, get it? But anyway, and then I realized that wasn't very interesting to people. It was just silly. So eventually it became a wheel with 9 elements, a hub and 8 spokes. And that's how it turned into a wheel.
Yeah, no, I love that. Actually, I really love the Adam's molecule, but yes, probably for greater appeal, the wheel of sustainability might hit there. Actually, I'm going to add in one other question, a sub question to this one.
Okay.
What do you think is the most important element of the wheel?
So great question. So for me, leadership commitment, the hub of the wheel, right? So each spoke, a wheel is as strong as the spokes in the hub. But if I take a spoke away, it's still a wheel and, it's just weaker. But if you take the leadership element out of it, it just falls apart. So for me, the whole effort around continuous improvement is to engage leadership to understand what they must do to create a winning experience.
Yeah, that's great. And there's so much of my passion and focus too is on that leadership component. I'm going to flip some questions because I think there's one here that actually comes with that. So the next question is for yourself. What has been one of your biggest growth opportunities as a leader or coach?
Yeah, so certainly it's understanding how to listen to people and engage them in such a way that it's truly we're helping them solve problems that matter to them. And so, early in the career, you want to give your ideas, right? I'm facilitating. Come on, we got to go this way. Why are you going that way? And then, so the growth is to understand that truly the team has to own their solution. So I had to change my process to make sure that I was giving them every opportunity to own and take myself out of the equation. Now, there are those that know me that there are moments when you have to take your facilitator hat off and say, no, we really shouldn't do that. It's probably not even legal. So let's get back to the right things to do. And these don't violate the laws of physics either. And then, okay, let me put the facilitator hat back on.
Yeah, that's great. And I think in my experience too, that's the biggest challenge for people to move from being that teller to the one who's really coaching and encouraging others to solve problems.
Right.
So how do you define the difference between kaizen and a kaizen event?
Right. So kaizen's improvement, right? So anything can be kaizen. So the way I think about it is we should always be trying to solve problems. We should always be trying to improve, and that's kaizen, right? So let's just talk about something and we'll solve it. Kaizen event is when we have something that by ourselves we may not be able to solve in 15 seconds, 15 minutes. So we need to get a grouping of individuals back together, and we need to engage them and give them ways of thinking that perhaps they don't have. And then we're going to give them specific goals and objectives, and then we're going to drive them as far as we can. So a Kaizen event can be 30 minutes. It can be 4.5 days. It's very tiring at the end of 4.5 days. Actually, I did one time, I did 13 out of 14 days because they just absolutely were inspired to keep going. And I said, well, I got nowhere to go. Let's keep going. But yeah, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, build on the energy.
Right.
I love that. And just a little side note, my first introduction to lean thinking and Kaizen mindset was through Kaizen events as well. And it was something that brought me great joy. And so this leads into my next question. What brings you the most joy in working with teams in a Kaizen event?
So I really love doing these things. And it's fun to watch a team solve a problem they didn't think they could solve. But also what's neat is to see them become a team. So we actually go through the storming, forming, and norming of teams from day one through the end, and the excitement and the energy, and people just shine. I mean, this past week, helping a group of folks and training within industry, and this one trainer, she was amazing, hourly employee, and just her level of confidence just building. That brings me joy, just watching people grow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And when you bring people together to do things they never thought were possible.
Right.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So what's a question? Oh, actually, here, what's one thing that you learned, or something you learned through the process of writing the book?
Well, absolutely. So I created the wheel of sustainability. Now, there's nothing new in continuous improvement. There's just different ways of thinking about it. So my goal was to create an image that was easily remembered. You can follow it. It's simple. You can say, oh, I can see how to do that. Right. So it's a wheel. And so what I learned, though, when you start writing about the thing that you created, you realize, it's not that obvious to other people, or what were you really thinking? So I actually challenged myself to understand, well, why does that work? Or why doesn't that work? And what does it look like when it works? And what does it look like when it doesn't work? And certainly I had help, people asking questions, well, how does that relate to me at home? Not just in business. And, how do you get 7 to 10-year-olds to pick up your book and look at it and think that's pretty cool too, right? You just broadened my audience. I had no idea. So I also realized, I should have known it, that there's a lot of psychology in this, helping people win and figuring out ways to help them win, and then describing it so that they can win. That wasn't really as easy to write about as I thought it should have been, because again, I'm the guy that created this thing. And then you go, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not that obvious. So that was my attempt to write about it. And it kind of taught me and deepened my understanding of this thing.
Yeah, I love a few elements in particular in the book that you do talk about the home as well as the office or the work environment, and tell stories around both of those. And you also don't just highlight what it looks like when it's successful. You talk about, maybe when it's not going quite as well, and what you or the people you are helping learn from that. And that's so powerful.
Right. Well, thanks. Yeah. So I used to joke that it's not a good Kaizen if you don't get somebody upset or you almost get fired, right? So there are stories of that. There are a couple moments when, you kind of had to be pulled back from the edge. So, but I think that others get those experiences, and you should feel like, hey, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
This stuff happens.
Yeah, it absolutely. And just the way your book is structured and written, it's so easily accessible, and so many golden nuggets of ideas of how to do it, and also just the humility of it's okay, it's a journey. So I really appreciated that about your book.
Good. Thanks.
So our last question for you before we go into our exciting offer is, what is a question that you have not been asked about the book by me or someone else? And then, so what's the question and what's your answer?
So, okay, just right off the cuff. So has something kind of surreal happened to me since I wrote the book, right? So doing a kaizen event with a client, one of the team members walks into the room with my book. Well, that was kind of cool because I don't know about, I wrote it because it had to come out, right? So I was like, I have no expectations about this. I just wanted it to be helpful to people. If they decide to look at it, cool. This guy comes in with my book and I'm like, what in the world, really? And at a break, he comes up to me and he says, can you sign this for me? And I was like, what? So that was my 15 milliseconds of fame. So it kind of floored me that it really made that impact on him. And it makes me feel good that people find something of value in it. So that's kind of fun.
That's nothing more rewarding than putting all that energy and thinking out in the habit, having a positive impact for people. So congratulations for that. And I'm sure there are many more people who are going to be asking you to sign their book and coming into Kaizen events and more for you. And it's a good segue to Adam and I are going to be running a giveaway for both copies of both of our books. The details are in the links below, and we're giving away some signed copies for those of you in the US, and probably just direct copies for those of you not, and we'll get all the details below. We're really thrilled to help you on your leadership and learning journey. Here all inspired to make the world a better place. So thank you so much, Adam. It's been wonderful to watch your journey, and I'm thrilled to have my copy back in my hands. I'm excited to be able to share it with others as well. So thank you for your time today, and good luck everyone on the giveaway.
Yeah, I love giving stuff away. So please enter early and often, and hopefully we'll send you out some copies.
Yeah, great. Thanks.